June 20th at 9.
This month in Passport on the PBS Video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
4 Hollywood stars are exploring their family's extraordinary World War II stories.
I truly believe that if we make the right decisions, together we can create a better future.
It's almost impossible to conceive of American life without The Wizard of Oz.
These and other shows from your PBS station are available with Passport on the PBS Video app. Download it today.
You're watching New England Public Media, WGBY Springfield.
PBS is proud to present The Latino Experience, a special collection of short films from a visionary group of filmmakers. Witness the stories, the struggles, the celebrations. The Latino Experience.
Tune in or stream the Latino Experience July 6th at 9.
Coming up, stories we're connecting you with tonight. A local artist honors those who have lost their lives to the COVID pandemic.
I just wanted to do something that helped people.
Oh my gosh, that is so lovely. Thank you so much. It's going to make me cry. It's beautiful.
Celebrating the rich Puerto Rican and Latinx culture of Holyoke through public art.
To have a public art project where you get to see voices that are woven throughout those pieces on a regular basis, like that's just power right there.
And using art to raise awareness about gun violence.
Everybody has a voice. Whatever that voice, it's important. And together we can make a pretty powerful statement.
Details on those stories and more up next on Connecting Point.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Connecting Point. I'm 𝗖𝗵𝗆𝗲𝗏. The COVID-19 pandemic may be fading in the United States, but in its wake, it leaves roughly 600,000 lives lost due to the virus. As many families and friends are finding ways to honor their lost loved ones, a local artist is offering to help. Robert Markey is painting portraits of people who have died from COVID-19, and he's doing it for free. Connecting Point's Ross Lipman visited Markey's studio to see his work and to learn about the remarkable life led by one of his most recent subjects, former Springfield resident Frances Borden Hubbard.
Deep in the woods of Ashfield, where the mornings are calm and quiet, Robert Markey heads into his studio. On his easel is a photo and an empty canvas. Markey is a portrait artist, and just as he has with countless faces before, he will slowly bring this picture of Frances Borden Hubbard to life.
When I asked to do the portrait, I asked for information about the person, so I kind of know who they are, and I asked for a few high-resolution photos so I can because I've never painted anyone that I haven't known before.
And he'll never get to know Frances. She died on April 11th, 2020 from COVID-19.
I'll do this and then I'll change it a little bit and then come back tomorrow to repaint it.
This is Robert's most recent project. Every person he's painted over the last few months has died from COVID.
I just wanted to do something that helped people. So I put something up on Facebook. And I think I got 3 responses. I have a friend whose sister died, I have a friend, and so I started doing it. And it felt really good.
From there, word spread of Markey's portraits, and more requests came for him to paint loved ones lost during the pandemic. There was Sandy Polanski, Ruth McBride, Frank Bush, and Brittany Bruner Ringo. But today he's painting Frances, a woman who touched many lives as a public health official and advocate.
She was a wonderful storyteller, but most importantly, she was a mentor to me.
Including Theresa Glenn.
I met her when she came to my class at the University of Massachusetts School of Public Health. Frances was asked to come and speak to the class. She talked a lot about her experiences as an organizer, and I loved her. I just immediately thought, this is an amazing person that, I would love to work with, I would love to get to know.
She eventually moved to Springfield and became a public health official for the city, at one point serving as its HIV/AIDS director in the 1990s. That's where she became Teresa's mentor and longtime friend.
She believed in the power and ability of communities to change health conditions, and she also felt like in a city like Springfield, it's like there's an emergency all the time. There are people that are without food. There are people that have very serious health conditions. It's like having a fire, that's happening all the time.
But the most important relationship in Frances's life was with her son, Scott. She moved to Springfield in order to help Scott raise his children. When Frances died, there could not be a funeral. Instead, an online vigil was held for nearly 3 hours.
My mother was truly my best friend, my confidant, my hero, my mentor, my coach. She was my everything, and we had a unique, beautiful relationship.
Teresa asked Markey
and what she's wearing,
to paint Frances.
She's trying to make sure it makes some sense.
So that she could give the portrait to Scott.
I know how heartbroken I am, and I know how heartbroken her son is, and I thought it would be really nice to have the painting and give it to her son. And so that inspired me even more. I'm excited to see how he's created this portrait of this person that I so love and appreciate. Oh, that is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. It does. Oh my gosh, that is so lovely. Oh man, you did such a beautiful job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's going to make me cry. It's beautiful.
I'm always nervous when someone comes in to see it. Did I do it right?
No, you did. You did. It's beautiful.
Frances Borden Hubbard lived a full life.
I'm so impressed. Love her face. She looks so happy.
And while a painting can't bring her back, it can certainly keep her memory alive.
Part of me was not sure I wanted to connect the memory of her with the painting and the memory of her death, of dying of COVID. I wanted to remember her from days that we spent, together doing things and working together, which is a lot of what we did. I didn't want to remember her as a hero in a pandemic. I wanted to remember her as Frances, who was a beloved friend and mentor.
If you've driven down Main Street in Holyoke recently, you may have noticed some new decor. The placekeeping project entitled 𝗪𝗀𝘅𝗀𝗲𝗿𝘁 Holyoke, or the Heart of Holyoke, has begun unveiling new public artwork and murals created by local artists that reflect the Puerto Rican and Latinx culture of the surrounding neighborhoods. I spoke with Cynthia Espinosa, Senior Project Manager of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Holyoke, along with local artists Frankie Borrero and Chelvanaya Gabriel, to hear more about the origins of the project and how they hope others will be inspired by it.
From 2017 and 2018, there was a lot of community engagement to find out what makes a neighborhood Puerto Rican, and that being arts, culture, celebration, festivals, and history, really making it a Puerto Rican and Latinx community. So from there, 𝗪𝗀𝘅𝗀𝗲𝗿𝘁, the Heart of Holyoke, really came out, that you're really showing the heart of God.
And what is the goal and vision behind this project?
The goal is to really highlight the community that has been here in Holyoke for many years. Also make Main Street what it is, so it's sort of like what has been, really highlight the piece, bring it more economic development pieces, and highlight the community and businesses that are here, but also celebrate what's already happening in our Main Street.
And speaking of the crowdfunding campaign to support this project, you received over $25,000, which exceeded the original goal of $20,000. How did it feel to see the community really show up and endorse this project?
It was a great feeling to go beyond our goal. And what was even beautiful, that the grant was matched. So not only did we receive $25,000, we also received an extra $20,000.
So this spring, the project was really able to move forward and began unveiling some of the featured artwork on Main Street. How were all the artists chosen for this project?
The goal was to do workshops and kind of be very engaging with our community to select the artists. So we did that version virtually in the best way we could. You know, it was still limiting. And we had artists apply online, and we also give the option in person drop off and all that. And from there, we had our advisory committee select local artists based on their application.
Frankie, you are a self-taught colorblind artist who has been part of several community art projects in Springfield, including Fresh Paint and the Black Lives Matter mural. How did your journey with art begin, and why has it been important for you to be so involved in community art making projects?
I've been drawing since birth and stuck to it more or less just drawing Mickey Mouse pictures and things like that, cartoons, comics. And then the graffiti era came, breakdancing, and of course I was entrenched in that. But that was not my career. My career was in dentistry. So it had nothing to do with art. It was in 2015 that I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And that's when I really, really dedicated myself to the art.
How did you get involved with the Corazón de Holyoke project? How did you hear about it, and what interested you in it?
It's fascinating because it gives the opportunity to, one, you have a voice, but you also get to decorate a city. You get to express yourself visually in these cities. And my big thing is to make the community a part of it by helping me paint some of these things.
Now, your piece for this project is titled 𝗪ncision de las antepasadas, or Transition of the Ancestors. Explain to me what this artwork is and what inspired it.
It was Puerto Rico themed, but I wanted it to be more historical timeline than your basic stars. So I went to work, did research, like 50 hours of research in how the project is going to go. I started with the pre-Columbus era with the Taino Indians and the natives. As time goes on, I transitioned to New York with Rita Moreno, and she's one of the few that have won a Grammy, an Emmy, Oscar, a Tony Award. So she's really put it out there for us. Underneath her, I put 𝗨𝗨𝗲𝗿𝘆, who Mirta Silva, I always forget her name, but she was a ejecutol, producer in Puerto Rico and a very famous television figure. And as we go along, I added Roberto Clemente, the baseball pioneer for our race. He was an all-star. After that, I put Héctor Lavoe. He was a pioneer for the salsa and what is called the cuchifrito circuit. And after him, I put Pedro Campo Albizu. In the 20s, he graduated from Harvard, but he was also a pioneer and a revolutionary, a lawyer for our culture in the United States. And he spoke 6 languages. I had to add him to show a little combination of we're not all just music, we're a little bit of everything.
And Chelvanaya, you are also a self-taught artist and multimedia art activist with a science background. In your bio, it states that with an Afro-queer, futurist, and disability justice lens, you ask whose stories aren't being told. Why do you approach your artwork through that lens, and how has this influenced your piece for this project titled 𝗨𝗪𝗪𝗪?
So I chose that lens because of my own identities, first of all. I mean, it begins with sort of both myself, and when I say I, it's this person, but also my ancestors, which is part, and that sort of perspective is part of what drew me to this project, honoring the ancestors. And it's just very important to me to bring those voices forward, right? And to do so intentionally and consistently, just like all the time, not like here's a day, here's a month, whatever, but like just this is all the time. And so to have a public art project where you get to see, you know, all these beautiful faces and artwork and, you know, and our work and voices that are woven throughout those pieces on a regular basis, like that's just power right there.
In addition to yours and Frankie's artwork, what other pieces of art can we expect to see along Main Street?
So this part of Chelvanaya's and Frankie's work was sort of like what we call the phase 2 of installation. We're working on phase 3, which is we're looking to light up and install artwork on 4 vintage towers that are really pretty much like the gateway to Main Street. And our goal is to make it a statewide recognized cultural district there. It's specifically Puerto Rican cultural district because we have about 95% of our Latinos, or Latinx, sorry, residents in Holyoke identify as Puerto Rican. And we also want to highlight the other Latinx in our inner city. So this is a very exciting project. It definitely, we definitely can see it from years to come, and it will change in different ways. It can be from artwork to events to new businesses coming in. So we're really excited and open to seeing how it looks. You know, we definitely have a plan of where to install what, but it's definitely can be changed and adjusted to the needs of the community.
Every Friday night, Connecting Point explores the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. But it doesn't stop there. You can find us online anytime for exclusive features and content. This week is National Fishing and Boating Week, and in our digital exclusive, producer 𝗍𝗪 joins expert angler Richard 𝗍𝗵𝗄 on the Westfield River in Chesterfield to discuss his love of bamboo fishing rods and passion for fly fishing.
You tend to end up in places that are very kind of scenic, very natural, where you just get a tremendous amount of enjoyment just being in those locations. I often say to people that I have been in some of the most beautiful places in the world fly fishing and not catching fish. It's because of the beauty that sometimes the catching of the fish is really almost incidental.
Don't miss this digital exclusive, available online right now at nepm.org/connectingpoint. Stephen Beauregard began building guitars in 1986, but with a desire to play some of the great summer songs of the 20s and 30s, he made the transition to the ukulele. He brought one along on a family camping trip and played it around the campfire, and after a husband and wife offered to buy it from him on the spot, he made his first sale. Fast forward several years later, and the Snowshoe Ukulele Company was born. Producer 𝗍𝗪 brings us the story.
In his unassuming workshop in 𝗥𝗵𝗄𝗏, Massachusetts, Stephen Beauregard bends and shapes wood and incorporates creative inlays to make ukuleles. It was a request to make one for the wife of a friend that first led him down this path of being what he calls an accidental luthier.
She loved it. She's like in her 60s, and she finally found the gift of music, and I had something to do with that, so that was pretty cool.
One thing led to another, and before he knew it, Beauregard had assembled a collection of woodworking tools in his basement, and with his dog Josie at his side, he formed the Snowshoe Ukulele Company.
We had a bumper crop of rabbits running around the yard that year, so I was like, how about a snowshoe? So snowshoe hair, and then my daughter drew up the logo, and I was like, this is perfect. This is what I want. I wasn't planning on building ukuleles, but it's all I want to do.
It takes about 3 months to complete a ukulele, according to Beauregard, and he makes them in 3 sizes: baritone, tenor, and soprano.
Thankfully, they're little instruments. I'm not building stand-up basses, so I don't need a huge headroom or big huge tables. I work out. I built my first ukulele on my ski tuning bench. So I mean, it's progressed since then, but yeah, you can build them in a closet.
The ukulele originated in the 19th century as a Hawaiian adaptation of the Portuguese machete, a small guitar-like instrument. Over the years, it has gotten a bad rap, thanks in part to Tiny Tim's Tiptoe Through the Tulips. But as Beauregard explains, the uke has become more accepted in the mainstream music scene.
The change was painful, but it came. Now, when I take the ukulele camping, it's, hey, do you know Eddie Vedder songs? Because, no, Pearl Jam guy. And it's like, thank God. You know, because, I mean, Tiny Tim was a great musician. It's just that he got caught in this whole shtick of his that just ruined him and ruined the ukulele.
5'2", eyes are blue. Oh, what those 5 foot could do has anybody seen?
Both Robin Hoffman and Richard Perlmutter play ukuleles made by Beauregard. The duo perform publicly as the Ukulele Scramble, and as their name suggests, they play a mix of songs from the Renaissance to the rock era.
We like a lot of different kinds of music. We both love classical music and pop music and rock music and all sorts of things. We use our ukuleles as sort of a license to mess with stuff.
We have 2 of Steve's ukuleles here. Robin just was presented with hers.
This is my brand new custom concert.
And this is actually a baritone ukulele that Steve made a number of years ago as a prototype. I think it was the first baritone he ever made.
Yes, it's an heirloom, definitely, but it's even more special than that to play and to perform with, because it represents to me the specialness of the ukulele community here.
So what started for Beauregard as a desire to make some ukuleles for himself to play has turned into a business that requires countless hours spent in his workshop building and less time playing. But he says he's okay with that.
I had plans to build a 4-string tenor, a 5-string tenor, a 6-string tenor, a baritone. I build all the time now. I play a little bit. My New Year's resolution is to play, but I just build all the time. I think building is more of a passion for me now than actual playing is, but I still love to play.
Orange is used as the identifying color of the gun violence prevention movement in the country, and a virtual art exhibit marked the national observance of the Wear Orange earlier this month. Locally, the exhibition Wear Orange, a virtual art exhibit, will take place in East Hampton, with selected pieces curated by Doris Madsen on public display downtown. I spoke with Madsen to find out more about raising awareness of gun violence through art.
Wear Orange began with the story of a young high school girl from Chicago who was in a marching band at Obama's second inauguration. And shortly after that in Chicago, she was shot. I don't know the specific story of that shooting. Her friends got the idea to use orange since it was her favorite color, and it went from there.
Now, a couple of things that struck me when I was viewing this exhibit were the powerful quotes and stories that the artist included about the artwork that was featured in the exhibit, and also how many forms art can take. I mean, there was paintings, there were drawings, there were sculptures, and much more. What were some of the stories and pieces of artwork that left the biggest impact on you while you were curating this exhibit?
Well, the one in the movie, which we ended with, is Marsha Lee. And I just found that story at the end. She had submitted orange flowers and her rocks. She was really touched by the whole thing. And it shows how somebody like Marsha can pick up the pieces and work on behalf of gun sense.
One of the featured local artists, 𝗟cie McInnes, included a quote in the virtual exhibit with artwork that said, quote, "Gun control issues have split this country apart. Common sense gun restrictions are all that are necessary." I also want to mention that on the wearorange.org website, it states that over 100 lives daily are lost to gun violence. What change do you feel is necessary to have an impact on decreasing gun violence incidents?
Well, everybody has to understand the need, and that goes from, localities, towns, cities, state governments, and our federal governments. It's at many levels, and state governments they're all different. Everybody has to understand that, but it is the power of voting.
And I know that your artwork is also featured in the exhibit, and you use an interesting technique. You use some historical maps to really talk about these social issues that have existed in our country for a long time. Can you talk to me more about that?
I started out during the pandemic using an image of the Mayflower, and I was using that image of the Mayflower because I had an embroidery my mother had made. And I realized when I was finished with that kind of body of work of the Mayflower that, well, maps, when I started looking at maps and I saw that map that is featured in that piece in the exhibit, when I saw the guns, it was amazing. And it's where we live.
So for everyone who's interested in viewing this exhibit, how can they do so?
The virtual gallery page will be on the website of East Hampton City Arts through at least September. The window will be on display through June 29th. And the movie is on Mass Mom's Wear Orange page, which is wearorangesummerjam.com.
What do you hope that the biggest takeaway is for all who view this exhibit?
The takeaway should be that everybody has a voice. Whatever that voice, it's important. And together we can make a pretty powerful statement.
That does it for Connecting Point for June 11th, 2021. Remember, you can always find the stories that you saw tonight, as well as exclusive features, digital-only content, and more online anytime at nepm.org/connectingpoint. And please join us again next Friday night at 6 right here on New England Public Media for more stories of the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. I'm 𝗖𝗵𝗆𝘆. Thanks for watching and have a great evening.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
I didn't think mental illness was something that happened to normal people.
I'm constantly under siege by my own mind.
There are a lot of experimental therapies that now strike us as quite bizarre.
The field of psychiatry